Okay, so tell me that again. Start with the 24 volt.
Alright, so your 24 volt circuit is going to be red and black. That's hot and common.
Okay.
Alright, Y1 is your first stage of cooling.
All right.
Or yellow is Y1. That's first stage of cooling. W, or white, is W1, which is the first stage of heating. On residential units, that's pretty much all you're going to have. You're going to have one stage cooling, one stage heating.
Okay.
You probably are not going to see anything much different than that. And then green is blower motor.
Okay.
The only thing that you might see differently is if it's a heat pump. Orange is going to energize your reversing valve, and then white is going to be up to your emergency heat.
Okay.
And that will be something that you have to pay attention to when you take the old thermostat off. You have to see the colors aren't necessarily important because we already know we're going to rewire it.
Yeah.
But you have to know what was hooked up. Was the OB valve? If you look, well, this one doesn't even have it, but there where it says W1, it would say W1/OB, and then it would give you an emergency heat option. So for W1 or OB, if it was a heat pump, you would use orange. For a second, or for emergency heat, you would use white.
Okay.
So we'll pretend that we're not using the orange, and we're pretending that we have the most basic setup right now. So these are the wires that you're going to use. Always take these and leave slack on them just in case you need them.
You think I should go ahead and get a set of crimpers?
Yeah, if you're going to be, I use these every fucking day.
So I have a pair of Kleins with the crimps. You don't think that would work?
No, because you need ones for insulated, and the ones that you have under Kleins are for non-insulated.
Okay.
I mean, you could get away with it, but so for this particular setup, we're going to use the most basic stages, or the most basic wiring. That's one stage of cooling, one stage of heat, 24 volt circuit, and blower motor.
Okay.
This is the 24 volts coming off the board, coming off of the red, the R, and the C terminals.
Is C the common? That's your
C is
ground?
common, yeah.
Ground.
Common or ground, yeah.
Okay.
It's just a single phase transformer that's usually stepping down 240 to
Gotcha.
24 volts. And
Okay.
let me open this thing up.
Before I install a new thermostat, do you think I should ohm out the wires and make sure that the wires aren't, if there's not a problem before?
You can.
So like if I get, here's a situation I just thought about earlier. If I go to a house, say it's got 2 wires hooking the thermostat, and I need to make it 5 wires, how do I know that these wires are actually good and that it's not fucked up or something? Maybe there's a reason why it's 2 wires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you'll never come across a 2-wire thermostat because at minimum you need.
I already have.
When?
On one of the ones I turned down, I was like, dude, I'm not the guy for this.
Only 2 wires?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was a line voltage thermostat.
Yeah, it was a red and black.
Just 2 wires, huh?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. If you come across something with 2 wires, you know that you need a minimum of 5. But what I would do is I would run the equipment first before you change the thermostat out. So go to the existing thermostat, put it in cooling mode.
Yeah.
Make sure the cooling comes on. Put it in heat. Make sure the heat comes on. And then that way you know that whatever they had before was working. And so.
Yeah, because what I don't want to do.
Because what you don't want to do is go into somebody's house and get all crazy, hook up their thermostat real quick, and then go, oh, your system's not working.
Right.
And that's what Dad's concern is. He thinks there's a lot of liability with it, but
I'm just worried about that customer. You knock on their door and they're like, oh, yeah, man, let's get going. And he knows his air doesn't work, you know?
Yeah, that's why you got to test it before you start installing. But also too.
But I did the research on it, dude. Electricians are totally good to go with thermostats.
Well, yeah, dude, this is fine. This is a 24-volt control circuit. The NEC doesn't even cover anything under 50 volts. Fucking anybody can install these.
Yeah.
But just because anybody can do it doesn't mean anybody should do it, you know?
Right.
So we're going to go ahead and wire this up. These are the thermostats that I use. I use these Honeywells.
Yeah, I think I understand that pretty well, dude.
I know, but I gotta show you the whole picture, so that's
Okay.
fine. Let me strip these out.
So to make a nest work, I'm gonna need a minimum.
Minimum
5.
5 wires.
But I hooked that one up in his bedroom with 4. That's what I'm accustomed to. Normally, dude, normally you wouldn't see this black.
Yeah, black is your common. The reason you have to have a common is because with these new touchscreen digital displays and everything, it takes a full circuit for the LCD light to light up.
So I've always known it to be 24 volts, and then you got your heat or your air, your heat, and your blower. And that's how I learned how to do a thermostat.
The only thing that we're doing differently is we're adding a common, and the only purpose the common is serving is to light up the backlight on this and to let all the touchscreen shit work. Without it,
but I hooked that up 4-wire. Do you think it's okay?
no, I didn't look at it because you told me that it was good to go. They didn't have a common?
No.
Yeah.
But I was looking at a wiring diagram online that showed a 4-wire configuration, and I hooked it up and it worked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Usually, if they're not on the cheaper end, they'll use an 8 conductor, and you always have extra wires available.
Yeah, I've seen people just do 4s.
Yeah, and that's where you can get screwed sometimes, and that's why I'm telling you to have one of these, have a roll of thermostat wire, because the price you're going to offer is installed. It's a turnkey price. If you have to pull in a thermostat wire, that's on you. That's why we price it the way we do, to cover things like that.
Yeah.
So I think you got this part of it. This is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I understand that pretty well.
So
I think I understand this too, man. I think I understand the red, the 24 volts in the ground.
Yeah.
The cooling, the heat, and the blower.
Well, let's keep going here. So you understand that part pretty well. Red,
Yeah.
W, common. G is green,
Yeah.
fan.
Yep.
Y, yellow.
Okay.
So there's that, and there's your thermostat. Okay. This thermostat, it takes that 24-volt control signal, and it's got a bunch of micro relays on it, and it's got sensor inputs. And what it's looking at is it's looking at, of course, the temperature of your house, and whenever the temperature of your house goes out of a certain range, it closes a micro relay, which sends 24 volts to a contactor inside the air handler. When the contactor closes, that energizes your fan and your, all the stages that this thing's going through this whole process.
You mean the condenser?
Yeah, well, the condenser and the air handler, you've got contactors in both. You've got a contactor in your condenser that's controlling your compressor and your condenser fan.
Yeah.
And then you've got contactors in your air handler that are controlling your blower and your heating stages if you've got electric heat.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned about right now is just if I do run into the heat pumps, and I'm sure I could figure it out, but I've never done it.
The big thing about the heat pumps is there's not really any big thing about them. You just have to know that you have a heat pump, and the way you know you have a heat pump is by the wiring of the old thermostat.
Yeah.
This thermostat is not. This is 2 heat. what is this? This is 2 heat, 1 cool heat pump. I haven't seen the OB terminal.
Yeah, dude, I gotta make this work. I got $2 grand in it.
I think it'll work, dude. I think it's a fucking genius idea
I do too.
to go around selling.
No one's doing it, and people want it.
Yeah.
And you're there that day, they're gonna be like, yeah, let's get the shit done.
Yeah. So if this was a heat pump right now, let's say I pulled the old thermostat wire off and they had an orange wire.
Yeah.
Landed on OB originally.
Yeah.
Okay. I would take that same orange wire and I'm gonna land it on OB right here.
Right.
And then I take my white wire, which is my auxiliary heat. Actually, if we were doing that, you would put it on the E.
Yeah.
For emergency heat. So if it's a heat pump, it's something that you have to recognize when you pull the old thermostat off, and you have to recognize that by the.
So yellow is cooling and white is heat.
White is heat, unless it's a heat pump, and then white's going to be emergency heat. Orange should be your heat pump,
Which would be OB and E. Then white would be E. Where's the E at on this?
Right above the W, right here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But with the
I'll watch this video like 5 times.
with the Nest too, it's gonna be different. I didn't see an OB on the Nest thermostats.
Let me go. Let's go look.
I don't know. Do you have it here?
Well, I got a Nest in my house.
Oh, you want one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put it in the email. So he would like
OB.
an
There you
interior
go.
light fixture.
Where's the E?
Removed and replaced. He said it's about a 10
OB or on the in this case it's gonna be W2 or aux.
Okay, so that's good information. Okay, that answers the question.
I don't know. He doesn't know what, if it's overloaded or what. And then he just got a grill installed
I would
outside.
play with that thermostat. I would install it, uninstall it. I'd download the app, get her real familiar with them. So
Yeah,
when
you're right.
When you're with the customer, you can fucking run through that shit like it's nothing. You're so familiar with them that it's.
I'm going to, and the ring too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna install a ring here.
Yeah, get so familiar with them that it's just second nature to you.
I'm gonna install the ring, and then Julie's got an iPhone, and I got the Android, so I do it with both phones. And
Yeah, that way you can get anybody's. So this is your basic connection. This is your thermostat on the wall, and this is gonna be your control board up in your air handler.
okay.
All right. The thing that you're gonna be looking for with the control board up in your air handler is it's gonna have. You're looking for 2 sets of wires. You're looking for the wires from the thermostat to control board and the air handler, and then you're looking for the wires from the air handler to the condenser.
Yeah.
Now on this one, it could be anything. I've seen it. I've fucking seen it all.
It's just 2 wires, right?
Yeah, it's just 2 wires. It can be any 2 wires. It doesn't really fucking matter. I've seen it all, but I use red and black.
Okay.
It's 24 volts.
I don't really need to concern myself with that too much.
Well,
Just knowing which wire is which is really good.
I want you to see what I'm doing, so that way you're familiar with what's going on. So whenever you open an air handler, you're gonna see a lot of shit, dude. There's gonna be wires everywhere, but you don't have to focus on anything out here. You just need to focus on what's right here and what's right here.
Right.
Because ultimately this needs to go here. Everything else is not really of importance.
So, say if there's a 2-wire, 3-wire configuration, is there any possibility that the board could be bad that won't let the 5-wire work?
As long as you've got this similar style strip on your board where you've got a red, a common, and all the things there,
Yeah.
then you can make anything work.
Okay. Do you think that I should always turn off the air handler while working on it?
You don't have to, like I said. Keep one of these on your truck. Keep a roll of wire on your truck. Keep automotive fuses on your truck.
Where do I get this?
Fuck dude, I don't know. Home Depot, Johnson's Supply, John Stone Supply.
Should I look on Amazon?
Yeah, you could look on Amazon. I'm sure they've got them there too.
Okay, so I need crimpers, that, fuses, and the wire.
Yeah.
I can probably get the wire.
The
from
most
Justin.
common fuses are 3 and 5 amps. I would, at minimum, have the 3 and 5 amp fuses.
Okay.
but there are other sizes.
Now,
It
if I
might be
turn
good to
if
just
I
get a
turn
kit.
the unit off, I shouldn't really have to worry about it.
No, you shouldn't have to worry about it.
But it's good to have.
Yeah, just in case you short something out. Normally, like if they've either got a fuse or they've got a resettable transformer. Sometimes you trip the transformer, sometimes you blow a fuse.
Okay.
So, all right, here's what I'm going to show you. I just need those little things. Not those.
Do you think that there's like gonna be scam artists that would be like, "Hey man, my shit's not cooling now. You know, it's like blowing, but it's not cooling."
No,
Try to blame it on you.
we need to go more into depth. I don't have all the time today, but I just wanted to come over here and start running through some of this stuff with you, so that way you can start familiarizing yourself.
Because
But
like,
you need to have liability stuff in your proposals that say, like, we're not HVAC contractors, and basically something that releases you from liability of the equipment. You're just there to, you got paid to install a thermostat. As far as you know, it was working when you got there and it was working when you left.
okay,
You got to release yourself from liability of the equipment. That's where Dad gets hung up. He's like, "There's a lot of liability." I'm like, "No, you got to release yourself from liability of the equipment. You're doing thermostats."
right.
All right. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to hook these commons together.
I've just seen it all, man. With people, they'll try anything.
Yeah, I know they will, but if you got your bases covered,
So-
that's why I don't want you to just go out there and
Some-
start doing it. I want you to
Some
have
some will, and a lot won't. You know, most people are good people, but there's a handful of them that they'll try it. You know.
Oh yeah, I know. So I'm gonna put these commons together. This is going to my condenser, right?
Right.
Whenever cooling is energized, whenever Y is energized, I want the condenser to energize.
Right.
So we're gonna jump these out. Whenever you're in an air handler looking at this stuff, most likely it's not going to be like this because you got the screws and it's just
They'll
going
just
to be
be
two wires
wires,
landed
yeah.
underneath there.
Yeah.
But it's important for you to know what those wires do in case they come loose. You know, you pull one out and all the wires fucking pop out. You got to know how to get the shit back.
So whenever you're running heat, you're not, the outside condenser isn't, the motor's not turning.
Not unless it's a heat pump.
Okay.
And that'll be a different situation. But what you would find in here is you would find a third wire. Whoops, that didn't crimp down very good, did it?
No, it's okay. I understand.
You would find a third wire in this set.
Okay.
You would find a third wire in this set, and then you would take your orange wire in this set, and you would tie your orange to your, this could be orange too, just so you stay consistent if it was a heat pump.
Okay.
And then what that does is energize your reversing valve. A reversing valve allows refrigerant to flow backwards, which is what a heat pump does. And alright, well, that's not going to stay in there. But either way, so then you just got this.
Yeah, man.
So normally you would
I'm
probably,
definitely learning.
yeah.
When I took interest in learning how to change a thermostat, I guess the world was a different place because
So
I always just thought 4 wires. Oh, it's so easy.
yeah, this is your coming from her. Well, really, it goes from the board. Power goes from the board to the thermostat,
And back.
and then back to the board.
Right.
So you've got your red. And common. You got your red and common. So that's sending power to the thermostat, 24 volts. So if you just had these 2 wires hooked up, your thermostat would light up. But
Okay.
it wouldn't do anything. It doesn't have any
Right.
So if you just had those two hooked up, your thermostat would power up. But
Understand.
like I said, it wouldn't do anything.
Yep.
Okay. And then you've got heating, W1.
How do you remember that heating is white? Is there any kind of...
No, that's
Just
I've
know.
just been doing it
Just
for 2
know.
years, and I just know. And I keep it so consistent that this is my color code. This is the fucking color code that I use anywhere I go.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm telling you that when you come up to a thermostat, don't be scared or worried about what the colors were before, because we're gonna rewire that motherfucker and we're gonna make it what we want it to be.
Yeah. But I'm thinking like, I'm looking for the quick one, you know? If I can see the old thermostat and I can understand it and I can understand how it hooks up to the new one, I'm not even gonna get into the air handler. Do you think that's wise, or do you think I should do it anyway?
Here's what I'll tell you: if you have the old thermostat and you pull it off and you understand the wiring, and it has a common available, and you hook it up and the thermostat comes on and you put it in cooling and you hear the air come on and the outside unit comes on, you don't have to bother going into the air handler.
Okay.
The only time you have to go into the air handler is when we get into situations like we were in yesterday, where we didn't have common wires and we had 3 wires.
Right.
You got to go in and fix things.
Okay.
So this is your cooling coil, and this is going to the outdoor condenser. So whenever this gets energized,
Condenser comes on.
it sends 24 volts through the through this wire in common.
Gotcha.
I don't know why the fucking keeps popping out, but
That's okay. I understand.
and then your G hooks up there. Whoops, just like that.
Okay.
So that's what you're looking at.
I got it, man. I understand that. Well, the heat pump, I'm gonna rewatch this video, and I think I can. Once I watch this video a couple times, I'll get it.
Yeah. But so basically, you're looking for 2 wires in an air handler. You're looking for the wire that goes out to the condenser.
Yeah.
You're looking for the wire that goes from the thermostat. Once you've identified those 2 wires, it's easy selling from there. You know, stick with this color coding, and you'll never fail. It's easy to remember.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool, man. I guess there's still some questions.
What's your question? I'll try to answer anything that you have.
Man, just the liability part. How do I put that in a way that it's comfortable for them, that they understand that, look, we're changing out the thermostat. Once the thermostat's in and it's good, like, that's it. You're not going to call me for HVAC. I'm not an HVAC.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you have to put on the bottom of your proposal when the customer signs off to the terms. They're signing off agreeing to the fact that, you know, you've stated in your proposal, and you've probably told them in person that you're not an HVAC contractor, but you do low voltage controls and you're a licensed electrician, but you don't work on the equipment. You have to type it up some way that releases yourself from liability of the equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know if
So I guess
in a state of mind, but if we sit down and fucking start.
So I guess my next thought is, okay, I can get them to sign, but what steps and protocols do I need to take, measures, to ensure that I'm not falling into a trap? So do I understand, go in there, make sure the shit's working. Yeah, I get it. We have to pull a new wire. If we pull a new wire, I guess there's really nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing to cover your ass is to release yourself of liability, and that's by, you know, stating on your proposal that.
So what if it needs a new wire and it's a 2-story and it's like impossible to pull unless we cut sheetrock?
Then that's something that you have to talk with the homeowner and
Just deal with it. So I should trade.
So how we would deal with it at Aircraft is we have set pricing, and so if that were the case, we eat that cost. We have to take care of it because we told the customer we were going to do it.
Pay for the drywall repair and everything?
No, that's going to be a standard exclusion.
Okay.
But and then of course the customer could always say, hey, I don't want you to cut up my drywall. I would rather you just put my old thermostat back in. and we'll call it a day.
Okay.
And so that could be an option too, but you have to do that on a house by house basis. If you see you have a 2-story, you have to start thinking already.
I mean, what are the odds that something catastrophic could happen just by fluke, just by chance, that I'm there changing the thermostat?
Dude, do you want to know something funny? I went on a service call this morning. Okay, we had some guys out doing the maintenance, and all they were doing yesterday was changing filters.
Yeah.
At a Harley Davidson out in Round Rock.
Okay.
Have big package units. Okay, guy calls in the day and says, "Hey, y'all were just out here doing the maintenance yesterday, and now my RTU number 7 isn't working, and it serves the big boss's office, the main dude." So
Right.
I go out there. I found a trip breaker, and so I turned it off. I go up to the unit and I start checking it out. And the first thing I did was ohm out the compressor to ground,
Yeah.
and I've got a compressor that's shorted to ground, trip breaker. And he goes, "So it's just a coincidence that y'all were just out here yesterday doing maintenance, and now this is." I said, "Yeah, it is just a coincidence." Shit like that happens all the time.
So maybe I need to record myself. I need to get a GoPro. So if it ever came out, hey, look, man, I got everything on tape.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of situations that you need to think about. I would start writing them down on paper. Anytime you fucking think of a scenario in your head, write it down on paper.
Yeah,
and talk to somebody about it.
Because like if that same thing happened to me, I put in a nest. Hey man, my shit's not working. I need you over here like right now, like probably within the next 10 minutes. If you can just jump your ass up and get over here. So like I'm going over there and it's a bad fucking compressor.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I gonna do?
Well, so the way that I might handle that situation, I would say, then is your thermostat on, just a thermostat light up. Then at that point, that's as far as you went. Is that thermostat? If the thermostat's on, if the thermostat's lighting up, now the thermostat can shut off for other reasons. They have a big pan underneath the air handler. If the air handler starts leaking a bunch of fucking water, the float switch trips it. That thermostat might turn off. There could be other reasons why the thermostat might be off, but that would be my first question: is to say, is your thermostat on? Is it lighting up? If it is, at that point, it's not your problem. What I would do is I would have a reputable HVAC contractor that you can trust and that you can recommend to all your customers. Say, hey, I'm not an HVAC contractor, but I know a guy.
Yeah, man, it's just I get it. It's a fucking jungle out there, and you know, I'm not one to like curl up in a corner and just like keep me safe. Like I know that there's always risk, but at the same time, man, I always want to like do everything I can to be prepared.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to go back to making sure that. So the way that I kind of see you taking this thing is going door to door. You're going to have a stack of proposals, and you're going to have a stack of flyers with your services offered.
Right.
And so whenever you go knock on somebody's door, you hand them a flyer, you say, this is what we offer, you give them your sales pitch, and you let them know that we can make it happen right now, within the hour, and I can have you all this. If they like that, you write up that proposal right there, and your proposal on the bottom, it's already got the pre-printed exclusions, liability shit.
Okay.
And then they sign that. That releases you from liability of their equipment. All you're doing is replacing the thermostat. That's the best that I know how to handle the situation. I don't know if it's the right way to handle the situation, but that's what I would do.
But see, the thing is people always play dumb, and it's always like, well, Sammy, you were in my unit, and now the whole fucking thing's fried, and you're gonna pay for it. Like
that's why you have insurance, but at the same time,
I just need
the only thing that you can fuck up, dude. This is a 24 volt. It's a low voltage control circuit. The only things you can fuck up is this thermostat and this board. There's not much to fuck up. You fuck up this board, you're looking at $130 now to install it and get everything hooked back up. You might have to hire a professional, but the boards are cheap, and these are really the only things that you can fuck up.
Yeah, but it's also that coincidental type thing. Like, so let's say a blower motor just decides it wants to quit working the day after I install it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, dude. Like I said, I went on a call this morning where we were out there doing maintenance yesterday, and then this morning their fucking breaker trips, and they've got to grounded compressor, and the guy's like, just coincidental. I said, yes, sir. And you got old systems. The systems are 14, 15 years old.
So what I need to do is I need to focus on homes that are within the 2 to 3 year range, where it's
I would focus on all the houses. Honestly, the older houses, the systems are simpler.
Okay.
Although you might have to go into the air handler and hook up that common wire.
Okay.
That should be really the extent of it, is going in and hooking up a common wire.
Yeah.
Normally what you'll see is everything else is already wired. They just don't hook up a common because the thermostat doesn't need it.
Okay.
And then you run into the situation where, okay, maybe they
So-
only pull the 4 wire, then you're running into
So
thermostat
if I get someone that's really fucking coming down on me and it's like not, and I have to tell them fuck you, you know, the worst thing that happens, I get a bad review.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't burn any bridges, but you know, I would just be firm in your release of liability. I would be firm in that.
I'm gonna
and
have
then I
to.
would be firm in, or I would be persistent in offering a solution, and the solution is a licensed HVAC contractor, a reputable one that I can recommend to you if that's what you want.
I almost feel like, dude, I'm gonna have to record everything.
Not really. Why do you feel that way?
Just so that way I can say, look, man, I got it all on video. I got everything that I did. You can take me to court and I'm gonna win. Like, there's no way, dude. There's no way that I've fried your condenser, you know?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I would hope that you're not out there running into those kinds of situations, and I haven't dealt with anything like that personally, but I do this shit all day, dude.
Oh man, if you can think it can happen.
Over the past 2 years, I've installed fucking well over 300 of these Honeywell thermostats right here. And
Dude, you don't know, man. There's people, they're so smart, dude. They'll hire, oh yeah. Let me go ahead and let's get that going on, man. And you go in there and put in their nest, and then they're HVAC fucking dudes, and they go out there and they fuck their unit off, and then, hey motherfucker, you're gonna buy me a new unit, dude. My shit's fucking fried. There's no way that you were over here just working on it, now it's fucking fried the next day.
No, a proposal is a contract. If you have your release of liability and they sign that and they understand that, they don't have a standing leg in court. You're not responsible for their equipment, period. You're only responsible for their thermostat. And if you provided a thermostat, that comes with a 1 year warranty to whatever your warranty is. We're standard 1 year warranty. And so what we installed, or the work proposed, is all laid out on your proposal, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
We didn't deviate from that, and all we're responsible for is this little piece of equipment right here. If something fails with this piece, yes, I'll come out and I'll look at it for you, and I'll replace it if I need to.
So here's the bottom line. If there was a catastrophic failure, nobody can